So we have a very good fight this Saturday between Emmanuel Navarrete and Oscar Valdez. Now, this is a fight that I'm genuinely looking forward to, and I do apologize for me being very inactive with my uploads. I just had a lot of stuff I've been doing as of late, and I really just haven't been making enough time for YouTube. Even though I have enough time, I just haven't been utilizing on it, and I apologize for that, and I'll work on doing better in that element. But anyways, my prediction for this fight, I feel this is a very interesting fight and a tough fight to predict for multiple reasons. There's multiple separate factors that contribute to my final pick for this fight, and there's multiple different ways this fight can go. But what I expect happening in this fight is I see Emmanuel Navarrete outworking Oscar Valdez throughout the fight. I see Valdez landing occasional big shots and big counters and trying to fight Navarrete on the inside. However, I feel that overall, I don't see Valdez having enough in return for Emmanuel Navarrete, and I'm picking Emmanuel Navarrete to win this fight by a unanimous decision victory where he outworks Oscar Valdez and gets him on the back foot and just lands the more, not even concussive shots, but just with the higher volume. I just see him outworking him, as simple as that sounds. Now, Oscar Valdez can very well knock out Emmanuel Navarrete with one punch. He could put him to sleep. He could land the left hook that knocks him out cold, or a right hand that puts him out cold, or at least puts him out very badly. However, I have seen Emmanuel Navarrete long enough to know that he rises to the occasion and he fights differently based on the skill level of his opponents. Now, if he fights Oscar Valdez the same way he fought Liam Wilson, he will get knocked out and he will lose. I can assure you guys. However, throughout his entire career, I've always seen him fight better depending on who his opponent was, and I see him outworking Oscar Valdez in this fight. I think honestly Valdez is past it. I think he's past his prime. I have not been impressed in how he's looked in a very long time. I felt Miguel Berchelt was his peak. He looked phenomenal in that fight. He was knockout of the year and a great performance, but after that, he has not impressed me once. Against Robson Consacao, he lost that fight, in my opinion, and was extremely fortunate to get the win. I mean, I was super generous to Valdez in my scorecard, and I still had him losing. I was giving him every swing round, and I still had Consacao winning. Plus, Consacao had a horrible point deduction as well. So he got schooled by Robson Consacao. He got dominated by Shakur Stevenson and dropped. He got dropped by Shakur, who's not a puncher, and lost that fight very clearly. I think you could at most give Valdez 3 rounds in that fight. I think I gave him 2. Maybe I gave him 3, but I'm not sure. He fought Adam Lopez very recently, and to be fair to Valdez, he looked better against Adam Lopez than he did previously, where when he fought Lopez in 2019, he was getting schooled, he got dropped, and he got a horrible stoppage victory. I mean, the ref completely bottled it. But this time, he went back and forth with Lopez and ended up getting a decision win. Now, on paper, this sounds like he did way better, right? I mean, he did do better in the fight. But Adam Lopez, after the Valdez fight, had suffered multiple defeats in his career after that. He fought Luis Correa, a fight I felt he lost, and was very forced to get a decision. He fought Abraham Nova and got dominated, dropped, and lost a wide decision. And he lost a couple of other fights outside of that. He lost to Isaac Dogboe, and to be fair, I thought he won that fight, or I had it a draw actually, but he could have easily won that fight. But that was a while ago, and the fight against Abraham Nova, he lost that fight arguably worse than he lost the Oscar Valdez fight. Valdez did not look that great against Adam Lopez. I felt that was a very poor performance from him. He won. He did what he had to do, but he looked very flat and did not impress. Now, obviously, Emmanuel Navarrete is coming off of a career worst performance as well. Not as well, but in general, I felt he looked horrible against Liam Wilson. I thought it was the worst performance I've ever seen of him. He still got the victory, and deservingly so. It wasn't a BS stoppage. He got him out of there. Yes, the ref did save him when he got dropped, and he was very fortunate not to get stopped in that fight. But I feel Emmanuel Navarrete is the more consistent of the two fighters. I feel with Oscar Valdez, he has very high highs and very low lows, while Emmanuel Navarrete is more consistent overall. And I feel even though Valdez does rise to the occasion as well, I think stylistically, unless Navarrete makes a very stupid mistake and gets himself countered in this fight, I don't see Valdez knocking him out or beating him. I think he could beat him and knock him out. I think the Valdez, if he puts on the type of performance he did against Berchelt, against Navarrete, he can do so. But styles make fights. Emmanuel Navarrete, he's a completely different fighter than Miguel Berchelt. He brings completely different things to the table. And I feel that Valdez is not as good of a fighter now as he was back then when he fought Miguel Berchelt. He's looked very poor in recent outings, and I feel he's not in his prime anymore. And I think Emmanuel Navarrete, he's still growing into his weight class. He's still getting bigger. He's still a young guy, and he's still improving. And Valdez is not old either, but he's definitely slowed down as of late. Unless he really comes out of nowhere, I really believe he's slowed down. He looked horrible against Robson Consacao. He got dominated by Shakur. He looked very flat against Adam Lopez. I think his time is coming, and I see Navarrete winning this fight on points. I'm kind of undecided on what type of points win will it be. It could be a close one where he wins 7-5, 8-4, but it could also be a dominant one where he wins 9-3 to 10-2. So I'm going to go with the safe choice and say he wins 8 rounds to 4. Maybe 9 rounds to 3. I see Navarrete simply outworking him and getting the win. Now, as I said, Valdez, he has that one-punch power. If Navarrete opens himself up, which he always does, he does open himself up in every fight, but even while doing so, I feel he does have relatively good ring IQ, Navarrete, and I know he doesn't get credit for that, but I do think he is actually pretty smart in there. And he's going to evade a lot of Valdez's work. But he could very well get countered and get put to sleep. So he has to be careful against Oscar Valdez. A lot of people think he's going to knock out Navarrete. A lot of people think Navarrete is going to win as well. I think Navarrete's work rate, his strength, his combinations, and Oscar Valdez does not let his hands go very much in his career. If you watch all of his fights, even his biggest victories, aside from maybe the Scott Quigg one, he does not let his hands go. He's very particular of when he throws, and when he throws a lot of haymakers. He winds up on a lot of his shots. He throws a lot of sloppy punches and a lot of sloppy overhand shots, and I feel that if he really comes in to win like he always does, if we get the type of performance from Navarrete we're used to seeing, not how he looked against Liam Wilson, I can't see Oscar Valdez beating him. Now, as I said, he might knock Navarrete out. He might catch him. But my final prediction, I've gone back and forth in this fight for a while because after the Liam Wilson fight, I'm like, nah, Valdez is going to beat him. But after how I saw Valdez look against Adam Lopez and just how flat he looked and unimpressive, I can't see him winning this fight genuinely. I think Navarrete is going to beat him. I think Valdez, he's not the same fighter anymore. Actually, to be fair, I'm actually going to change my pick, though. I think it's going to be a close decision. I think it's going to be a fight where Valdez is going to win 4 to 5 rounds. I think there's a good chance it may even be like a majority decision, but I see him getting outworked. Because I've thought about it, and I do think Valdez, even though he doesn't let his hands go a lot, he does land nice, clean, concussive shots. And I think he'll do so enough to where he wins a lot of rounds. But I still see him losing this fight. I still see him losing a competitive decision. I don't think it's going to be a dominant or comfortable win for Navarrete. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth fight where he outworks Valdez to a competitive unanimous decision win. So that's my final prediction. 115, 113, 116, 112. Unanimous decision victory for Emmanuel Navarrete. He's going to outwork Oscar Valdez. It's going to be a competitive fight. Valdez is going to have his moments, but he's going to get outworked and lose. His only real opportunity of winning this fight is if he really lets his hands go more than he has in the past, or if he lands a perfect counter, and I don't see either of those two happening. I can't see him outworking Navarrete. Navarrete throws so many punches. He really lets his hands go. He is relatively slow, and he is available to get countered. But I think if Navarrete watches any of the Burchelt fight, he will know what to look out for and what to be aware for. A lot of people think he's tailor-made for Valdez, and he may very well be so, but my final pick, I don't think Valdez is going to counter him. I don't think Valdez is going to beat him. I'm going to go for Emmanuel Navarrete, a competitive unanimous decision win. You guys tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Tell me your exact prediction. If you can properly predict this fight down below, I'll pin your comment for this video and give you a personalized shout-out in my post-fight review. That's all I got to say, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good one, guys. God bless. I'll see you guys later. Peace.